Well, thank you, and welcome to a gentle introduction to certification of a cross-platform FIDO2 authenticator. Uh, I am John Callahan, the CTO of Veridium, uh, and I'm also a member of two FIDO working groups, the Government Deployment Working Group and the Identity Verification and Binding Working Group. I'll be joined via one of our videos, not live, by Alex Encica, our senior developer on our FIDO certification project and our FIDO products. He's in our Bucharest office, and he's a member of the FIDO technical working group. So there are many benefits to FIDO certification that you probably are familiar with, but these enumerate these benefits. First, that you declare support by voluntary conformance to the standard, that you can now be eligible to meet various customer requirements, right? That require 2FA or FIDO specifically, and there are more and more organizations, governments, and commercial entities that require FIDO products and FIDO certification. You'll also be interoperable with other products in the Alliance that have been certified. And actually, that's part of the process, as we will see later on. So that interoperability is really demonstrated on your product. Compliance is stronger than conformance, and compliance actually deals with regulatory guidelines. That you're compliant usually is to some government or commercial entity requiring compliance. And finally, that you may be compliant in the testing, but have you been validated, right? And really, this is the program for certification, that your declared conformance, your demonstrated compliance can be validated in a community. So that's what we're going to step this through. The process is actually quite smooth. It has many steps, and we went through it, and we want to share with you our experience. Well, what are some of the benefits to certification, right? It is a smooth process and can be done within a month or so. But the benefits are that you'll join a group of standardized products in the industry. And as I talked about, interoperability is important there. You also have market differentiation, meaning that you'll have a distinguished product. There are other products, of course, but you'll join that community and can differentiate from your competitors. Again, I mentioned the regulatory requirements can be met here. You can also provide consumer protection with industry the highest level standardization, and therefore bring that added benefit to your clients. And if you use an existing SDK like ours that is certified, this can actually accelerate your certification of your app, your authenticator, and your products to the market. And if organizations adopt standardized industry standards, they've seen a 30% savings in purchase operations. So you streamline acquisition for your customer and their RFPs that they put out, and you can respond to them very quickly. This is from a YouTube video, actually, that the FIDO Alliance publishes, and I urge you to look at that. Once you are certified, you are listed, so you can verify the certification of those products. You're listed in a registry, and that's a FIDO certified products. You can search for particular companies and what types of products that you have. We have 3 products, a server and 2 authenticators that we'll talk about today, the iOS and the Android authenticators. And that's what we're going to focus on here. They are listed there, and they're all FIDO2 compliance products. This is a diagram directly from the certification material. And again, it's really a streamlined process. We're going to focus on those first 2 today, because after that, it basically is the legal processes and steps you take to achieve the certification certificate itself, the trademark issues. But the technical aspects are really in those conformance self-validation and interoperability testing steps, which I will be focusing on. The available certifications, you can go to the site and get this, but it really breaks down right now to about 3. That is the server. and that clients can connect to you. And we'll see actually some of those products as part of the interoperability exercise is that you interoperate with existing servers and even ones that are undergoing certification themselves as server products. The authenticators for FIDO2 and UAF, U2F has been deprecated, is another level. That's the mid-tier level. And there are several levels within that, and as we'll see. And then there's the biometric component certification. And that's actually typically with the built-in biometric sensors on particular devices. So within authenticator certification, there are actually 5 levels. We're going to focus on L1, so level 1. That's what we underwent. That is for software authenticators. The higher levels are typically for hardware authenticators, tokens, and so forth. So this talk is going to focus on the L1 certification. So we undertook in the fall of 2021, so it's been about a year since we underwent the process. You'll find some of the tools have been updated, so be aware the tools you see in this particular demo, there are new versions of that, and the certification process is continually being tuned and updated with various tools. So just be aware of that as you go through the certification process yourself. But pretty much that experience does not change, just the underlying steps sometimes have small tweaks of versions. We did do both the iOS and Android at the authenticator level. And this talk is going to talk specifically about the details of what it's like to go through that with videos. So as we saw, the diagram before we had the conformance self-validation as the entry point to the process, and then the interoperability testing. But before that, a lot of preparation is required. And you should get all of this in order before you actually go and do the self-conformance, and certainly before the interop. So preparation always counts and is valuable. First, you need to register for the interop event, okay? This will actually open up various tools and access to those tools and paperwork for that particular interop event. So really that's step 1 if you're going to go for certification, identify the next interop event on the calendar and register for that. The Alliance team member certification team members are very helpful with that as far as timing goes. They occur periodically throughout the year and are easily identified on the FIDO Alliance site. Read and review all the relevant documents. Certainly, this almost goes without saying, but be aware of all the steps, and this video should help you to guide you through some of the technical parts of the process. Implement a FIDO2 demonstration app with your SDK or a vendor SDK like our own. The idea here is that the demonstration app is how you will exercise those capabilities of the authenticator. And we'll see how that plays out during the certification and the conformance and the interop process, certification process. You can test against a WebAuthn server. In fact, one of the simple demo servers here can be run on free services like Heroku. And you can test your client app out against such a server. It can be deployed locally or for free on sites like Heroku. This is really just a test. And is just the WebAuthn part of the protocol. It doesn't do attestation, server attestation with metadata. So just be aware of that. Speaking of which, the next step is you need to construct a metadata file for each technology being certified. So we have 2 metadata files that you'll see. One is for the Android platform and one is for the iOS platform. Second is the vendor questionnaire. This is the VQ, and you have to answer this for each technology. It's basically a spreadsheet with questions and documentation associated. This is incredibly important before you go to self-conformance, self-validation conformance, and certainly for interop. And finally, to download the certification conformance self-validation testing tool. And that is what we will be seeing next. So self-validation conformance. So here the tool is provided upon registration for the interop event. And you can download that. They update various versions. Find out the relevant versions that are valid for your Interop event. They will have deprecated versions, some older versions. Make sure you're using something in the correct range of the tool. So with that, I'll step you through what it looks like to go through on the self-validation. So here on the left-hand side, I show Windows desktop, and on the right-hand side is a tethered device. It has to be tethered for the presentation, but it uses Bluetooth. And the first thing we're going to do is bind the device via Bluetooth on the Windows. So first I open up settings and my devices. I'm now going to add the device on the right-hand side. It recognized it. It's a Pixel 2 XL phone. And you see that on the device, it actually pops up a pairing request. There will be 2 pairing requests in this case. Your mileage may vary. The first step is just acknowledgement of the device. Second actually is the code number of pairing. And I have to enter the code number here. And there we go. The device is paired. Wait for that pairing. Then you can there it is, paired the Pixel 2 XL device. I can now exit out of settings. And now one thing that's very important to do is during the actual conformance test itself, it will do various factory resets to remove keys on the device, okay? If you have existing keys from previous tests, this may actually, I want to say break the conformance tool, but you want to be sure to clear the keys out on the device. To do this, go into the accounts under settings, and you want to select the sign in options with the security key setting there under you. You'll need to set the security key. There we go. And so this is actually just doing a factory reset on the Android device to remove existing keys. Notice it says a physical security key, but this actually counts the Bluetooth keys. On the right-hand side, the device will sometimes go blank like that. That's an artifact of tethering. And once that factory resets happens, you can then open up the conformance tool on your desktop. So there's the conformance tool open. Now, for this particular talk, I replicated what we did in the fall of 2021 using the CTAP2 authenticator that has been updated to the CTAP 2.1 authenticator. This is actually our experience, a true to form of our fall 2021 experience. So this is actually a deprecated tool, which is tool 1.6.34. And the first thing you want to do in the conformance tool, this will be similar, is to select all the CTAP 2.0 or 2.1 tests. Scroll down. You'll have to load the JSON file there, the metadata file. Okay, and then make sure the device is connected. So by Bluetooth. So make sure that you get it connected, and make sure that that metadata is loaded there, and then you can run the test. So by clicking run here, the tests begin to execute there. If you look at the very small thing in the upper left-hand corner, there is 10 tests have already executed by the time you get a factory reset. And as I said, you'll get a whole bunch of factory reset messages because it's exercising various protocols within those tests. So for, as listed here, for transports, the generic CTAP, the make credential request, the make credential response, the get assertion request, the get assertion response, and so forth. You will see the progress on the left-hand side as you progress through various tests. We're now at about 28%. As this progresses, the number of passes, the number of failures, you can stop the tool if you see failures. And there are debug messages below if you scroll down to get those. Again, various factory resets will happen on the mobile device. You have to sit there with the mobile device and respond to various queries. You can't just leave it alone. What more can I say here? you will have to respond to various queries, as we'll see, that will ask you to authenticate from a selection of particular users. So you will have to select the correct user, for example, on the device, and we will see an example of that. So we're now at about 40 tests. There will be 104 tests in our particular case when it ends. What I'd like to show is just some examples of, yeah, there's one where you actually had to reply as a particular user, then another reset occurs. The screen on the left will go blank sometimes if there's a biometric request. Again, this is an artifact of the tethered presentation. We use a tool called Visor, which will mirror the screen. But when there's a biometric response for privacy reasons, these are the tethered mirroring is disabled briefly. So again, we're about 50% of the way through. And again, on the right-hand side, I am continually responding by clicking the appropriate selection so that the tests continue. If you do not reply on the device quickly enough, it will time out and register as a failed event. All right, so you do have to be timely. So there's an example of answering on the desktop to say, does it support consent requests? And I answered yes. There we go. So that is the end of the test with 100% completion and passing. And now you can click the submit results at the bottom. That button, submit results, will send those results to the FIDO Alliance automatically and will not appear until you achieve the end of the test. So that is the self-conformance test. You may have to do that several tries to get all the tests passing. That may help you debug your software, right, to discover things. So do that well ahead of time after registering for the Interop early, and take the time between when you register and the actual Interop event to use that self-conformance tool. It's incredibly helpful to both yourself and your implementation and to the Alliance before going to the Interop. The Interop event, that is the step 3, and that's an exciting event where you actually have live demonstration of your product to be certified. The goal here is to fill out this particular or similar score sheet, which in our case, we tested against various servers. We both had our iOS SDK and our Android SDK on a variety of against a variety of servers, in this case, the IBM implementation, the Strong Key product, and the LideSec server on each browser, so Chrome, Edge, and Firefox, and for each platform, the iOS and Android platform. You don't have to pass all tests, depending on the level. There are extended tests, so be aware of which tests are optional, which tests are required and which are optional. So this is the end goal of the Interop, and we'll see how that unfolds here. So let me play this video from my colleague, Alex Encica.
We work on the FIDO2 authenticator and works via Bluetooth protocol on CTAP2. First of all, we, in order to make it work, we have to pair the Bluetooth with our authenticator. In this scenario, it's already taken care of, but for the sake of the demo, I'll remove it and we add repair the device. So, okay, so we'll hit add a new Bluetooth device. For Bluetooth, we've identified that we are working on a Pixel 4. And we're waiting for the connection to happen. So let's try that again. issues. So I think it's going to be very nice to reset this before using it. Okay. So we need to enter the PIN for the pairing to happen. 6. And now that the device is paired, we can start using it as a FIDO authenticator key. In order to demonstrate this, we'll use the first server, and we'll attempt to do a make credentials. Right. So first of all, the Windows machine will ask us to use our the platform FIDO authenticator. However, we'll use our security key. So it prompts us to, if you want to use the security key to register for this particular user, Kristen Yoshimura. Okay. And now we're waiting for the Bluetooth communication to happen. As you can see, the make credential was requested, and we can see the authenticator asks for a biometric checkup in order to confirm the make credential. Right, we asserted that by face, and as you can see, the make credential was successful, and we have a valid key registered on the server. In order to prove that, we'll use the test assertion. Right. We're waiting for the connection to happen. So now the Android authenticator asks for the biometric confirmation to verify our identity. And after we confirmed it, the verification is now successful. There are a few more tests here. The one with residential key, right? And again, we have that Windows platform. Let's keep it and use the security key. Okay, so we ask for the biometric confirmation in order to register the credential. After we confirm it, the credential is registered with success. We'll validate that with a get assertion for that credential. As you can see, there are already plenty of keys here registered. However, we'll use the newly registered on this security key on Android. Sorry, I canceled accidentally. So we're asked for the confirmation, confirm the face biometrics, and it works. Hold the multi-credential, put the resident key, so we're asked for creating a new credential. And this time, I think we'll be asked to register another credential for this username, and now we'll be asked to authenticate on this username identity. Right. So we display the list of registered credential, and the last one we have registered that is asking is this one, Moselle Shoe. So we'll select that and confirm. We'll be asked again, and the test passed with success. The make credential with attestation none is similar with make credential call. However, the attestation of the authenticator will not be verified. So we are asked for the biometrics confirmation. After we confirmed, we notice that the test is passed with success. Now we'll use the second server for testing provided by IBM. So here we want to do registration of our keys. Since we don't have any FIDO authenticator register, we'll have to access our account via IBM single sign-on. I have prepared an account already. However, I need to get my credentials somehow. Okay. Let me see what was the password I used. Also, this is the problem with passwords. Okay. I need to save this password for later use. Right, so now that we have logged in, we can register an authenticator. We use the same mechanism as with the previous server. We use our security key. Okay, so we're asked for the biometric confirmation for the registration. And once we're confirmed that, we can enter here a name. We'll call it Veridium. And we'll save the registration. We can test the key right after that to see if it works. We have here a button for test. We're asked for the confirmation with biometrics. We'll confirm that. And we can see the result here at the bottom that says authentication successful. However, let's just do a logout and a login with the FIDO credential that we've just created. We'll use it as a first factor. We'll use the security key as a first factor to log in. We'll log in with FIDO. We're asked for the biometric confirmation. And we managed to log in into the account without passwords. So this seems to work fine. The third server is the one for strong key. We'll use here a new account to register a new FIDO key. So we'll use it as a test account. Let's name this Android Veridium. Okay, so the username is already registered. Let's try a new one. Okay. So we're asked for the biometric confirmation to register the security key. So we can also register an additional key. However, we want to prove that the key we just registered works for authentication. So we use the username test FIDO2. We'll hit sign in. And after the biometric confirmation, we successfully manage to log in and end up in the same authenticated space.
I also supply this slide. This is myself actually demonstrating the iOS platform, and in this case, only against one of the servers. So we're going to start with the FIDO2 Interop from LideSec on iOS. I've already bound the device via Bluetooth, as you can see in the upper right small window. So we'll run the make credentials test first. This is on Edge. The request is for the native authenticator on the platform. So we're going to cancel that and look for the security key, which is the roaming authenticator on the iOS device. You should see over there on the left as well the screen echo. And there we go. Touch my finger. My thumb, I should say, and success. Next test. Very good. So that completes the run of tests for the Veridium iOS Authenticator SDK against the LideSec server on the Edge browser. So at the end of your Interop event, which may be virtual or physical, you hopefully will see this type of report card. And that will come to you from the Alliance as a report. Again, how did your interop testing perform against various server platforms? Okay, since we're talking about an authenticator certification in this case, across various browsers and the particular tests. So as we saw from the videos, exercising those tests looks different on each server product, so be aware of that. That the server products will vary in how they exercise these particular test cases, the make credential, the get assertion, the make credential with the resident key, the get assertion of the resident key, and so forth. So just be aware that the experience on particular server products is going to be different. But if you pass the self-conformance test, chances are you're very performant against all of these, thanks to the compliance of the different vendors, both on the server side and the authenticator side. So at the end, when you get the report from the Interop team, you receive that report, and then you turn around and immediately submit it for certification. Just be aware, certification does not come as the result of the Interop event itself, that you get a credential then to be turned in for certification. There are some additional paperwork that has to be submitted. And then the idea being in the additional paperwork includes like the trademark usage terms agreement. And once that's submitted, you'll be good to go and you'll get your certification. You'll be listed on the list of certified products. And don't forget to post your metadata files. As we saw, they're loaded in the conformance tool. That's typically a MD3 file. To post it on the FIDO metadata registry. This is important for server products that when they have attestation turned on, will only accept binding and authenticated credentials from certified products if they have attestation, client authenticator attestation turned on. And then finally, celebrate, you're now listed and you went through the smooth and simple process of FIDO certification. With that, we hope that myself, on behalf of myself and Alex and Veridium, that you've learned a lot from this and your anxiety is down, and we'll proceed with whatever level of certification via the FIDO Alliance that you desire. Thank you.